What's up, guys? Chris here with Gaming Kinda, and today we're going to talk about content creation around video games, and specifically around information, news, guides, the current state of an exploit, the current state of a strategy, the current state of a farm. Who owns that? So if the gaming company comes out and they put out a public thing that is a patch notes type piece of content where it says these 5 changes are going to be made, and 10 YouTube channels all go out at separate times and read those off and then give their opinion, are those separate videos? In my opinion, absolutely. Now, on the other side of things, let's imagine that I create a character creation guide or something that you easily have access to that is not groundbreaking information. And instead of going out and doing it yourself, you simply take my video of it, swap my narration out for your narration. If my face is showing, simply clip it and then repost it. Is that theft? It's public information, but yes, I think that's theft. Where that starts to get a little bit fuzzier is, what if that's footage that you can't get? What if something interesting and unique happened to me? What if I was in a world first? What if I had a weird bug happen and you grabbed my footage so you could talk about the bug? It's your own unique take on the bug, but since you can't replicate the footage, you use my footage. Should you have to ask my permission, or should you just do it? Within copyright and within fair use and all those phrases, it gets real fuzzy real fast. And at the end of the day, most YouTube creators are simply not big enough to hire lawyers to A, know if they're doing things correctly, and B, go after somebody who is using their stuff incorrectly. So at the end of the day, it just becomes an ethical concern for the community. The actual legal ramifications don't really matter because it doesn't actually do anything. If somebody steals my footage from a guide on work to game, I can go do a takedown notice on YouTube where I'm offered to basically either take their revenue or have the video removed, but I have to know about it. And it's like a whole thing. So like, ethically, I think it's absolutely wrong, but are they going to get punished for it? I think we've seen time and time again where there have been creators that have risen up off of other people's gameplay. They've risen up off of basically going out and grabbing, FAQs or reviews or things like that. We've seen, and where the community typically rises up is when it's somebody big taking from somebody small. So say a media outlet took footage, you may know, of a specific situation when this happened. I'm trying to leave this relatively nameless. Say a media outlet took footage from a small YouTuber. And that YouTuber were to come out and post a video that said, "Hey, I think they took my footage. What do I do?" The community as a whole can punish that media company by basically shaming them. But what else? What other grounds? Like, that person, on one hand, like, they could have come out and said they took it and I'm going to go after them and they're jerks. But at the end of the day, like, what could they have really done? Like, it's so hard for somebody small to take from somebody so big. On the other side of it, like, copyright law was written to be established by lawyers and dealt with by lawyers and requesting permission and all of this. But that was from a time when, to put out copyrighted material, to put out a song or a movie or a TV show or a news article, you had to be tied to a publisher in that genre, which meant you had to be relatively established. You had a company, you had a secretary, you had a lawyer, you had all these things. But now, anybody with a phone, right? Don't you guys have phones? You can just do that. You can just publish. You could create a YouTube channel or 10 today, and you can just start publishing things with little to no oversight. It's very easy to capture footage from with capture cards or with screen recording software. It's downloading YouTube videos. It's easier than ever before to acquire things that you might think are okay as B-roll but are theft. It's so easy. And the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because I don't know every side. I'm not using names here, so I don't feel like I'm throwing anybody under the bus. But my understanding of a situation from a couple of different streams and from going and watching the videos in question is that there was a gold farmer in World of Warcraft that was live, and they were running a farm. I don't know where they found out about the farm. I don't know if they stumbled on it or said, "Hey, I've been in this sort of place before. I wonder if this would work." And they were testing out a farm with the new level squish changes, and they said, "Wow, this is making a lot of money." And my understanding is, I wasn't there in that stream live, but they were going to maybe make a guide on it. They've made guides in the past. And then somebody in their community, somebody small, probably thought, what a great idea. I'm trying to get into making guides. And they went off and made a guide. Once again, I don't know that person's thought process, so we're going to leave this situation relatively hypothetical. So I can assume what they're thinking because I'm not talking about the real person right now. I'm talking about a hypothetical situation. So fairly common. Somebody sees something and wants to get into content creation, so they go make something that's adjacent to things that have already been made, but with their own voice on it. So they go off and they make this guide, and then they share it in another community that they're a member of, or with another creator, and they say, look at this guide I made. Isn't this cool? And this other creator is much larger. They're actually around the same size or larger than the first one. So you got two big creators and a little guy in between. And they watch this. Now, they may or may not have known about the other big creator in their guide, but the little guy comes to you and says, look at my guide. Look at this thing that I made. And they go, wow, that's super cool. Now, they don't just shout them out, but, I realize I don't have to shout you out. I'm bigger than you. So I'm going to go test it on stream. And it's working. So I think when I end my stream, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to make a guide on this. But I'm not going to give credit to the little guy because honestly, I went out and did the work. So I'm just going to do that. And, but I don't really have that much footage of it because I didn't test it that much. I just tested it enough to know it kind of worked. So what I'll do is I'll go grab footage from, in this hypothetical situation, we'll leave it very hypothetical, from either the small person or footage from, oh my gosh, there's a VOD out on another creator. I'll just go use their VOD. And then I can clip their frame a little funny because you got to make room for my face anyway. So you won't see any of their overlay or their face or anything. But you will see their character. And then I can even phrase it in the video as, look, I have a couple of different viewpoints. And so this is very convenient that I'm able to show it to you from these viewpoints. And these are these numbers of what this farm is doing. Now, these are not numbers that I tested because I didn't do it. And I didn't do it because I didn't want to. I didn't do it because I didn't think the farm was worth it, or I didn't think the farm was ethical, or whatever set of reasons. Or I didn't have time and I wanted to get it out to you guys right away because it's so urgent that you get on these while they're new and fresh. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. And while you're at it, if you'd like, you could buy some merch or something that I've made, as a way of showing appreciation. So here's a guide, self-plug, and here is footage of somebody else doing it, somebody else who did the work. Now, I don't need to put their link in the description. I don't need to tell you who it was. I don't need to give credit. And it's fine. And I could make a trend of this. I could be like other creators in the past who've used other people's gameplay and have written basically critique essays without ever even playing the game, who can blow up to massive sizes. I don't need to do any of this to be big. I can just go do this. And then the great thing about the way YouTube works is if it goes poorly, if it blows up in my face, it's only going to blow up in my face because I got big enough to get caught. And when I got big enough to get caught, the beauty of that is that first part, big enough, which means I can override the caught part because now I can apologize and I can put out totally original content. And sometimes the community rejects you and that person gets shut down all the way, in which case we're not talking about them anymore and this video doesn't apply to them because they're gone. The community shamed them into oblivion. And I don't know if cancel culture is a good thing or a bad thing, but that is one of the outcomes that does happen. The other outcome that happens is they're able to launch this self-propelled, totally original career from that point. And it's almost rejoiced. Look at this. We asked them to change a behavior. They changed it and they're doing awesome. But the question becomes, would they have ever gotten that big in the first place? Would they ever have had the resources to go full time, the resources to get their fancy green screen and their fancy lights and all of this and everything? And I'm talking about me because my lights are like a work lamp and there's a drill here and yeah, that's just a lamp from Home Depot. But they have fancier lights than me, way better lights. And they're doing all this and they have the ability to go buy a bunch of games and capture cards and consoles and all this off of this resources of going full time. And if they had started out at the beginning, even if they had the resources to acquire those things, they would have had to make really, truly original content that would have taken them much longer because they would have had to do all the work themselves. And at the time, they would have had to put, let's say, 100 or 1,000 hours into something that would have paid, let's say, $1 or $10. And now they're doing that inverse. Now they're having something pay them $1,000, and they're able to do it in 1 or 10 hours. They get caught. Okay, well, that's fine. Because now I'm getting paid so well that I can afford to spend the time anyway, the time that I should have been spending the whole time. So the question becomes, where is it stealing? Where is it an ethical dilemma? Where in gaming do we want, it's none of our footage. That's what makes this unique to like gaming or somebody talking about movies or whatever, is technically we're talking about something that none of us own. Blizzard owns World of Warcraft, Square Enix owns 14. Those are really the only two games I've talked about on this channel so far. I play lots, but they're the only two that I've talked about so far. And in both cases, they've released us to use the footage, but have not released ownership. So the footage itself is owned by them. The things in that game, the farms, they built the system that generated that. So technically we can't own a farm, right? So where is it theft? Is it theft because you thought of it? Is it theft because you thought of it first? What if you thought of it first and I never knew, and then I came to my own conclusion and published it? Did I steal from you then, even though because I didn't double check? I don't know. I'm trying to leave names out of this because like I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I don't want to assume the worst in somebody, but it does feel weird when somebody's able to make it to full-time status, be able to acquire a number of subscribers that people would aspire for off of the backs of someone else's work. And the rules shouldn't matter. The rules should be consistent regardless, but it feels worse when the person that they steal from needs it. I don't know why. It shouldn't be any different. You shouldn't be allowed to steal a candy bar from Jeff Bezos any sooner than from a child on the street. It should be the same theft, but it doesn't feel like it. And so to me, like, is there a set and fast rule that we can follow? And are there times that we should enforce that rule harder than others? If you steal from somebody under a certain size, is that worse? I don't honestly know. Like, I know that it makes me sick to my stomach when I hear about it. Once again, like, it's not like I can pull all these people aside and have them in a room together where they can talk to each other. And I heard all their sides and I understand everybody's motivations. And I heard what they secretly said to their friend after they got off stream and said, oh my gosh, like I found this farm. Like, oh my gosh, I found this farm and I can't wait to tell people. Or, oh my gosh, I found this farm and I'm totally going to post first. Like, I don't know. Like, what is their true intention? It's really hard to measure that. I don't know. But I wanted to kind of pose this question to the internet because like I'm stuck. I don't know that there's anything the community can do about this person. On one hand, you want to say like, well, if they're truly doing something bad, the community eventually find out and they'll get theirs. Maybe, or maybe they'll just be big and successful forever and ever. On the other hand, you know, should they be punished? I don't know. Maybe that's not fair either. So when is it theft? When should they be punished? How should they be punished? And who's in charge of interpreting that is kind of the question that I had regarding this situation. So I thought this was the right place to post it because we have Work to Game where we talk about all things Final Fantasy 14. I'm starting to work on some channels where I can post like guides and actual content, things like news, more objective stuff where I'm just stating facts. But this is a place where I can just kind of let my opinion dump out of my head when it's just about gaming, kinda. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.